Listen, laugh, and learn with Sacha and Ish as they share their experiences, thoughts, and tips to build skills that are not so average and a career that's not so ordinary. This is the Not So Breakfast Show.
All right, welcome to the Not So Breakfast Show today, the podcast for career and leadership development. And today we're talking about how to be a triple threat. I was watching something the other day and they referred to an actor being a triple threat because they could act and they could sing and they could dance. And I was thinking, what's the triple threat in corporate? What's the triple threat in career? And we've come up with our three that we're going to explore and discuss because, man, I think you're a triple threat, Sash. I think you've got these wrapped up, so I'm keen to pick your brains in this space as well.
I don't know, like basketball must have a triple threat as well. I think maybe they can shoot, they can defend, they're a good distributor.
Yeah.
I don't know. I always remember there was a book about grammar once, and it was all about like the importance of punctuation. And the book was called Eats, Roots, Shoots, and Leaves. It was about koala bears, was the right? But if you put the commas in the different places, then it was some rude title. And whenever anyone says a quadruple threat, I always think of, that's the person who eats, roots, shoots, and leaves. I'm like, oh no, that's terrible. So for our triple threat, for how to be like just a rock star at work and have a whole lot of stuff that you are bringing every day, I'm excited to talk about this because I do think that there's two ways of looking at your career and your leadership progression. One is to go really deep, is to go, you've just got to be really focused and good at one thing. There's a paradox that the deeper and more focused you are, the easier it is for people to grasp onto what it is that you do. So, that's the guy who does X, and that's really useful. But also, unless the right opportunities come your way, you can really get stuck and pigeonholed. Yep. And you want to be able to have some flexibility. That means that you can have a broad base of skills as well as some depth. You can't just be a one-trick pony anymore.
No, well, and there's an efficiency in speed when you can do the three or the triple threat as opposed to being the person that's the expert in one. It's not to say that you won't have a natural tendency to sit in one, but your ability to be able to explore all three does start to maybe speed up an end result, because otherwise you're just waiting for the person that does that thing to then take your idea and execute on it. And I'm like, maybe execute on it yourself. Maybe you could actually take from conception right through to the end, which is the delivery. And that's kind of the angles that we're going to discuss if we go through our triple threat thinking.
Yes. It's time to reveal what is the triple threat. Woo! So drum roll, please.
So we'll give it the high level triple threat is thinker, creator, presenter.
Ooh.
So the person that can come up with an idea, the person that can create the thing, and then the person that can kind of present on it, sell it, speak about it, communicate. So from idea to execution and the nuances in between. But why don't we start with the thinker part? And really when it comes to thinking about stuff, we're talking about that base level idea generation. You know, can you be the person that's also coming up with an idea, doing a bit of a brainstorm? It's really your ability to be open and curious all the time. So it's kind of go, I wonder what would happen if, or I wonder what we could do if we did it this way. And you kind of just start from a base of being open and curious about other ideas, about other people's opinions, around maybe wonder why we don't do it that way. It's that open and curious nature that tends to have more of a spirit of innovation.
I think one of the things that we discount when we're talking about looking at things through different lenses is also the power of people who are unhappy. So people who are unhappy are less likely to put up with the status quo, or at least they recognize that they don't enjoy the status quo. So there's other people that go, I hate my bus ride to work. It's terrible. That can generate an idea of what would be a better way to get to work. How might public transport be better? How could my working environment be better? that meant I didn't have to bust to work. But if you are the kind of person that you're just enjoying every aspect of your life, it's all just fine, you're actually less likely to be creative in your thinking because you have no rub. There's nothing that's kind of upsetting you, or there's no discomfort in your life. And discomfort can often be the driver of the ability to look at something through a different lens. So if you think about the last time you had a set to with someone. So I can use this example. Sometimes when I drive, cyclists really piss me off. So I'm a fan. I'm a fan of cycling. I think cycling is great. If people are getting themselves to work on a bicycle, I am here for it until I'm in my car. And when I'm in my car, I'm like, who does that cyclist think she is, taking up all of the road? But if I think about it, she's one person on her bike and I am one person in my car. Right?
Yeah.
So after having a few incidents where I was like, because I'm in a car, I still have the right of way, it's actually just my one person versus her one person. So, big shouldn't always win. I thought I need to change my approach to how, my anger at cyclists, which is so unreasonable and irrational. So today I was coming towards the cyclist and I thought, I'm going to change this up. I'm sick of being a grumpy person. So I waited, I gave them extra room and they tooted and waved at me and I smiled at them and I thought, wow, this is actually a really nice way to be. What if I actually prioritise cyclists because they are the ones that are actually exercising and that ought to be encouraged? And my discomfort with being sick of being grumpy and angry, and I just changed my approach, right? Now, I haven't come up with any new great roading design or roading innovation, but I just looked at it through a different lens and said, it's just one traveller on one traveller. The fact that my vehicle's bigger shouldn't mean that I go first. And it was just I just flipped the script on it in my own head, coming from that, actually, can I look at this from a different lens? Can I approach this from a different angle? And I think there's so many situations like that in life that rather than just go, this pisses me off a bit, but I'll just keep doing it for the next 30 years, we become a better thinker when we go, this could be better, this pisses me off, and now maybe I can start generating some ideas about solutions.
Yeah, I love that term, looking at things through a different lens, because again, this is that kind of that base level thinking about stuff. If you're only looking at it through the paradigm of your own world, like you're in the car, that's your world. I've got the big car and I need it to go the way that I want to go at it. But if you can actually switch into someone else's lens and kind of look at it from a different perspective, that's when the ideas come from. It's like, well, how would it be for this person, or how would it be like that? I remember doing some innovation work and they gave the example of the person that designed the coffee cup holders in cars. And because someone obviously came up with the idea, they go, man, it'd be good if you could actually have something that you could put your coffee in. And yet, when you look at the majority of placement of where those sit in cars, it's right in front of the vent that is either cooling it down or heating it up. So if you got your coffee and it's the middle of summer, it's just blasting with the air conditioning. Or if it's the middle of winter and you got your cold drink there, I don't know. But it's like that kind of stuff. Or even the car that I've got at the moment, the cup holders are just too small. They're just tiny, so they just don't work. But then I saw on Instagram the other day, there was a thing that you could put inside your coffee cup holders and it made the holes bigger. So it was like a hole expanded. But that's that whole thinking stuff. It's being open to exploring different ideas and coming up with ideas and not just defaulting to the person who's, well, they're the creative one. They're the ones that always come up with the great ideas. So that initial base level thinking, that's part of being a triple threat. So the next one is the creator stage. So actually being able to not just come up with the idea, but be able to prototype it. What could be something that you could create to show, to explore, that's taking it just from on paper to something maybe that's a little bit more tangible. And this could be from, here's my idea and I'm going to create a PowerPoint. to explain that idea. Or here's my idea, and I'm going to do a straw man model of what this could look like. So it's taking it from conceptual and giving it a little bit of substance and a little bit of reality.
And sometimes this is like a literal prototype of a thing. So you have an idea for the cup holder, so you get a bit of pipe and you cut it off and you try stuff, and you might be that kind of handyman type person. Sometimes it's a matter of saying, I want to approach this situation in a different way. So I'm actually going to become my own experiment. So for me, the cycling, that was it. It's like, instead of getting angry with cyclists, what if every time I see a cyclist, I like, how can I make it easier for this cyclist? It's just approaching something. And my experiment with myself was, it was a much better outcome for the cyclist, and it was a much better outcome for me. So that's a sample size of one experiment with one person, but I've given it a go. And so I could say now to my family, hey guys, every time you see a cyclist, instead of like getting angry, we're going to experiment with this, we're going to try it. That's like prototyping an approach or prototyping an idea. I'm really conscious that I go into meetings and I talk, la, 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 la. So I might say, how's that working for me? What I'm going to try and create now is a different environment in my meetings. And so this time I'm going to try something new by not leading the meeting, or by asking more questions. Or when you are creating, it's not just about, I'm going to write the book, or I'm going to put the PowerPoint together, or I'm going to get a bit of wood and try and make a new kind of pencil. It can also be about how do you approach situations or change your behaviour in new and fresh ways. I mean, if you've got teenagers and you find yourself just continually yelling at them, just ask yourself, how's that working? And could you think differently about it? And could you actually take a design approach and try some different ways of working with them to see if you can get a different outcome?
Like tying them up and making them listen to you.
Putting matchsticks on their eyelids so that they have to look at me when I'm talking to you. Look at me.
But yeah, it's that kind of maybe that first stage of just going, rather than just coming up with an idea and going to your boss or your manager and go, look, here's an idea. And then they might not get it. And they might go, well, that's a shit idea. It's like, it may not have been a shit idea. It may be a great idea, but it's taking it a slight level further. So even before you go there and say, here's my idea, could you test something? You know, I came up with an idea. I've tested it a couple of different ways. I think there's something in it. And here's the results that I got. I reckon you can get so much further in influencing people and getting them to understand what it is that you're trying to do.
Totally.
Okay.
Totally
All
awesome,
right, so
dude.
our third one in our triple threat, we've got the presenter stage. So this is actually being able to take an idea, develop it into a concept, maybe put some tangibles around it, and then be able to present it as an end result product. It's almost like selling it. It's that communication skills. It's the level up from here's my concept, and it doesn't really matter if you don't like it because it's just base level. Now it's got some substance, but how do you then really pitch it? Like if your testing actually got it to a stage where you go, there is something in this that would make a difference. Can you speak about it? Can you deliver it, sell it, develop the ability to be able to communicate it in a way that someone takes it seriously?
Can you articulate the idea in a way that people care about it, or that people are motivated to act or to do anything differently? And I've done some work in the past with a government research agency here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and these scientists have come up with the most amazing concepts. Like it was a mind-blowing use of our natural resource in New Zealand, waste products, and turning them into marketable, consumer-friendly, globally scalable ideas. And as each one was describing their ideas, I was just getting more and more excited. And they were not getting more and more excited. They were just talking about the science behind their ideas. So what they'd done was they'd taken this polymer and added this polymer, and wasn't that nifty. And their excitement level talking about it was 2 out of 10. And I was like, man, you guys are sitting on not just gold mines in terms of what's the commercial potential here, but gold mines in terms of the difference that this can make to the physical environment if we can repurpose this product. And I was getting really excited about it. And there were 2 things going on. One was they didn't appreciate the brilliance of their ideas. And they couldn't see the marketable potential of the product. But the second was, even those that had a glimmer of possibility about their idea just didn't have the skills to be able to sell it or present it. And partly that's because scientists are trained to be skeptics. So the whole scientific method is, I'm going to put a hypothesis up and I'm going to try and prove that it's not true, that it doesn't work. And then if something does work, you go, oh, that's good. But it means that your whole mindset is around, it's not going to work, here's what's wrong with it, here's all the things that could possibly go wrong. And so they were lacking the skill, this exact skill that we're talking about, to say, describe it to me in a way I can grasp. Describe it to me in a way that means something to me. Tell me a story about it so I can get on board with what the potential uses are. And then if you are excited, let your face know, let your voice show, put some energy in, all of those kind of things that we talk about in the 30-minute presenter program. Those things all kind of come to the fore at that stage. But even if it's not a presentation, it's, can you communicate your idea in a way that's powerful?
So, you think about all of these thinker, creator, presenter, they've got levels even within them, right? So the base level thinker, how do you get better at coming up with ideas? How do you get more curious? How do you become more open? So it's all very well saying, I'm going to come up with some ideas, and you sit down with a pen and paper and then you go, well, actually, I can't come up with any ideas. It's like, well, that's not how creative people come up with ideas, so maybe...
Or you set an alarm and you go, oh, it's idea time.
Yeah.
Ideas now.
We'll be right back.
If there was one skill that could double your income, advance your career, and increase your ability to influence, it is the skill of presenting. Whether it's on stage, in the boardroom, or at a job interview, the 30-minute presenter program will help take you to the next level. So check out our Instagram page, click the link in the bio, and get started on the 30-minute presenter program. I love it when people go to creative people and they go, I need some ideas. Can I have those, in the next 30 minutes? It's like creativity is something you sometimes need to switch on. So if you're wanting to level up your creativity because you're more of the doer, like take the idea and then you make it a reality, but actually being able to dial up your creativity and your thinking and explore that concept. One, it helps you understand people that have a strength there. And two, I think it really does make you more useful because you will start actually coming up with ideas that other people can't see because you're looking at it through a different lens. You bring a completely different perspective. So maybe explore how people think about stuff. What does really good step-by-step thinking look like to come up with creative options for things and really explore that and level up through your through your actual thinking process. Like, do you have any thinking processes or times where you actually just take some time out to think about a situation and come at it from different angles?
I was going to suggest that the switch on the self-awareness, right, is first of all just to notice, when do ideas flow freely for you? Or notice when you are having interesting ways of looking at the world or problem solving. So for me, I've noticed that a really good thinking time for me is the shower. It's terrible for our power bill, but I can get in the shower going, okay, I've got 2 minutes to wash my hair, wash my face, get out of here, let's go. And 15 minutes later, I'm still in there, but I'm really working through an intense issue that I have at work and getting some fresh perspective on how I'm going to solve it. Now, there's some kind of slightly, not dodgy, I'm not sure how dodgy it is. Let's say a dodgy-ish science around what's happening to the actual water as it hits your head. Is that stimulation of the brain? Is it the sound? Is it that, without being ooky, is it that you're nude, so you're kind of stripped of any artifice, it's just you are truly alone. We're not exactly sure what it is, but for many people, the shower is a good thinking time. Certainly there's plenty of evidence around being in your body. And what I mean by that is actually moving. So for many people, they will be more creative after they've done some kind of movement, whether it's dance or exercise. You've got elevated heart rate, juices are flowing. People like Steve Jobs, they would always take walking meetings. They wouldn't just sit across a desk and go, let's try and nut out this problem. They'd say, hey, walk with me. And they'd go through nature and be talking as they were in a different and an oxygen-enhanced physical environment. And that made a difference as well. So I think there's things that we can engineer. I know that if I've got some big challenges to solve that I need to look at creatively, there are some props that I'll often use. So I have big like sketch pads. I can't draw a donkey's ass or a horse's face. You would not be able to tell the difference. But I use those big sketch pads to kind of just scribble a bit, or I'll often use like a mind mappy type thing where I want to actually, I find it very hard to think without writing at the same time. So most meetings I will write in, and at the end of the meeting, my notes make no sense, but they've just helped me participate by writing things down as I go. So I think the trick is not, let's just do what works for Sacha. I'm not an especially creative person. I used to be, but I kind of, not so much now. You kind of get stuck in the mode that you're in. And right now I'm in organising, planning mode, and you lose some of that creative edge. But the trick is to recognise when are you creative, and then try and engineer more of that. So for me, that's more shower time, more time outside, more walking meetings, doing more dance, more exercise, more music is often a trigger for people as well, and then plug those into your day.
Yeah, that's it. I've got a place that I drive to in my car, and I sit there and I just basically talk into my phone and it transcribes it. But it's the environment, it's the repetitive. I go to that place and I want to come up with ideas. Like I can orchestrate that. I can at any time of the day I can go there, and it kind of turns on that more creative thinking. I tend to listen to
your neighbours don't mind you just pulling into their garage.
No, and the fact I'm naked, that's fine as well.
About that.
Yeah. They're fine. Some people are naked in the showers. Some people are naked in their cars at the beach. Who are we to judge, Sash? Who are we to judge?
No judgment. No judgment.
So if you're kind of thinking, how do I get more creative and get better at thinking, push yourself and ask creative people how they do it, and then start to put in some different practices. Then if we kind of look at dialing up the creator aspect or that design aspect, could you build like a business model? Could you build a prototype of something? And sometimes when you see a prototype or a model or something from somebody else, you could go, how could I use that in a way to express my ideas? Like even sometimes I'll look at really complex financial calculators, and we've got people at work that are amazing at building those things. And I'm always curious to go, how have they actually built that? Now, it's not that I want to be great at Excel and calculators and finance, but there is an advantage to understanding how they work or some of those things that you could actually apply. And sometimes I'll actually just build an idea and I'll just make all the numbers up, because that's not really about the accuracy. It's just more about, well, it would be great if I had something and it produced this. And then when I go and explain it to the guy that can create that, he goes, I know how to do that. And then all of a sudden, because it was visual, a little bit of creative thinking, rather than me just talking at them, trying to explain what it is, suddenly it becomes more of a reality.
I love the idea of challenging yourself when you have a thought or an idea that you execute. Have a go at executing whatever the idea is. So, for example, let's say you think, what would be a really great birthday present for Ish would be if we got 3 people who are all Chuck Norris impersonators, and throughout the day, just as Ish is going about his everyday, he bumps into these Chuck Norris impersonators. So I've just had that idea, like literally right now. So my challenge is, when you have an idea, why don't you just practice executing it? So I could now go, okay, so how would I go about that? How would I find Chuck Norris interpreters? Who would I need? Impersonators, rather, not interpreters. Well, he needs interpreting too.
What's he saying to me, son?
What's he saying? I don't understand. But let's say then I'd have to talk to somebody at your office about your schedule. Maybe I'd talk to Jo, your wife, and say, could one of the Chuck Norris impersonators come to dinner at your house? And so you actually just follow through an idea you've had to try and put together what would the execution look like. So you just test yourself to not just be an ideas person who goes, it'd be a great idea if there was a party where you just had shrimps on the barbie. Oh, good. Okay, so do that. Find a way to do that. And I think what that does is you build your can-do muscle. So I can't think of very many situations that people raise with me that are impossible. So if you've got an idea and you say, I want to get 700 massive blown up swans and put them on, I'd go, yeah, we can do that. Because I think just about anything is possible. Just about all of the time, anything is possible. You just have to kind of have practice. And then you build your confidence in your ability to put things together.
That's good. Explore, play, be okay that it doesn't work out, fail with some safe stuff. But I think when you explore that stuff and level up, it's such a great investment in you and in your skills.
I'm pretty excited about you now for the next 3 years, looking out every day for Chuck Norris impersonators.
Riding 700 swans.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you'll recognise them.
And then you've got the presenter level up, which is obviously we all often have an opportunity to communicate or present in some way. But the difference between being able to do it well enough to have a conversation with a group of people and being able to shift a room, entertain a room, influence a room, hold a room, those are completely different levels. But you don't get there if you don't at least explore and play and do some research into what makes great presentations and how could you take even an idea, create it into a presentation and then deliver it in a way that was engaging. That's the triple threat. That's the kind of the icing on the cake. And that's obviously the thing that Sacha and I have doubled down on and spent so much time doing over the last few years.
And look at us, own paragons of success.
Paragons?
Is that even a word? I'm going to Google it now. You keep chatting to the folks at home that are listening, and I'm going to Google paragon. Paragon applies to someone who is a model of perfection in some quality or trait. That's us.
It's Chuck Norris.
So, of course, I've seen the Barbie movie. Have you seen the Barbie movie, Ish?
I haven't seen the Barbie movie, and I'm hanging out to see the Barbie movie because, yes, it looks awesome, but keen to hear a review from you, Sash, because I trust you. Tell me what it's like.
So Barbie is lots of fun. It's full of feminist ranting, so of course I love it. It's a bit preachy in that regard. I think many people are going to be surprised. So they're expecting just to see this light and fluffy Barbie movie, and then they realise there's actually quite an acerbic, biting take on the patriarchy. Ryan Gosling is amazing, and if you only go to look at Ryan Gosling's 8-pack, then that's a good enough reason for me to go. The whole thing about Barbie is that it's this kind of biting commentary around traditional views of women and consumerism. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, the movie and the associated merchandise and product mix is intense, and they are selling more Barbies than ever. They are going to be selling more Barbie merchandise than ever, at the same time as Mattel has allowed the piss to be taken out of them about their rampant consumerism. So it's this really kind of, it's kind of like Matrix-like in its level. So I think you'll enjoy it because of that.
Oh, that does sound good. No, I'm hanging out. And is it worth like the big screen investment?
I think it's so beautifully shot. Like the impact of being in Barbie land means it's worth going on the big screen. Yes.
Oh, that's cool. I saw something pretty cool the other day on my phone. One of our designers sent it through and she goes, I knew you would appreciate this. So I was like, oh, okay, what is it? And you know how like everything at the moment on your phone is basically in portrait. So it's not landscape.
Yes.
And more content is becoming portrait. That's just the way we're consuming it. So they had reshot using CGI and special effects some of the most epic scenes in Star Wars, but in portrait, and it looked incredible. Like the shot of Luke Skywalker, on Tatooine outside his home, the shot at the Senate, all of these shots that you think needs to be in this massive landscape, huge, wide screen visual effect. And it was beautiful on a phone in portrait. And I was like, that's interesting. That cool. Is really interesting, because I heard them talk about even TVs the other day what if it was
portrait.
the other way up? I was converted, you know? I've always been a landscape guy.
Two things jump out for me. One is that when we were at the Eiffel Tower recently, Portia was taking photos, and to get the angle right, it completely distorted the Eiffel Tower. So it made the base incredibly fat, and her phone, or wide, I should say, incredibly wide, and her phone did that automatically. So it looks ridiculous. What it did to me was it made me about 6'3", and I tell you, long legs suit me. I was just like, oh, there I am, leggy blonde. That was awesome. I'm here for that trickery. And just going back to Barbie for a minute, we're talking about the sort of the mass commercialization and how many brand activations have piggybacked on the back of it. My favourite one so far is from Heineken. I don't know if you've seen this. So Heineken, obviously the beer brand, and it was your landscape thing that reminded me. They've taken a landscape photo of their logo, the Heineken logo, and they've cropped it. So all you see is KEN, trademark. So the last 3 letters of Heineken are Ken, obviously, and Ken plays a big part of the Barbie story. So it's a photo of that, and if you look right down the bottom, it just says Ken, then underneath it says, come on, let's go party. It's like, come on, but I just think that's clever. That is so clever. So that's somebody, if you think about the triple threat, someone's had the idea, they're going, man, the world's going nuts for Barbie. How does Heineken get into this? That's so like someone's done that thinking, and a really brilliant ad idea has popped out of it. So I love that. I love stuff like that.